Hey, it's Kim and I'm back with a flip through of my March pages. March was interesting and we'll talk about that as we go through the flip. But for the most part, all of my layouts and everything, actually I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say they've stayed the same. Let's just get into it. Okay, so starting off, we have the March monthly layout. And I will have linked my March Plan With Me video so you can see how I set up all of my layouts with the exception of the weeklies. But you can see how I set up the monthly and my dashboard and all of that. So starting out with the monthly, things filled in eventually. I actually thought that I might use this section here for sort of like a summary for the month. I'm not exactly sure if I want to do that. And then would I feel compelled to do that for the previous months where I didn't fill in anything over here on the left? I don't know. But I thought about it, kind of something to put there, but we'll see. I also didn't do any kind of journaling on my monthly spread. I thought that I might in this section here, but I eventually just went back and filled in a sticker. And that's another thing that I sometimes like to do, is just to go back and add deco after the month is over, or at least close to the end of the month when I know what stickers I have left. I've since, however, put away my March stickers, so I haven't even done that. Will I actually go back and add stickers to this? No, I will not. We're done. Done with March. But this is how the monthly layout shaped up. And I did use a yellow marker for adding notes and highlights on this page. I don't have it with me. This is the actual marker that I did use throughout the month, Tombow 993. And it does look similar to this yellow marker that I wrote in some, little notes on the monthly, but not quite. I used one of those click art markers that I don't have on me right now. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. So I did use that for March to write in anything I wanted to highlight, anything that I wanted to, just something that I'm going to come back to. Like I want to see when I did my nails, or when, I don't know, when we went to the library, those types of things I have noted in that extra color, or in that highlight color, as I like to call it. And today is a very, very gloomy day. So you may hear rain falling outside. You may hear my radiator hissing because it's gloomy and cold. So hopefully you don't hear any of that in the background. But if you do, that's what that is. So the monthly shaped up just fine. And I do like the way it looks overall. So getting into the weeklies, if you've seen my video where I talked about the different weekly layouts and I tested a bunch of them in the month of February, you will have seen this layout. So this is the end of February, beginning of March. So we have the first 3 days of March, and that's what that's looking like. For that week, I was testing out the vertical layout and using it, just as it's intended. But for the month, though, like when I got into the full weeklies of March, I decided to go with that layout that I called the Nolte layout. And the reason why I call it that is because it's similar to the Nolte 1180 that I use in my everyday carry / work planner. So it just has a little section up top for tasks, and then everything at the bottom is just like a free form grid pages for notes. So that's the general layout that I've been using for the entire month. And in this first week, you can see pretty much how that worked out. Up at the top, I have appointments or things that are timed. I don't necessarily write down the times for everything. Some things I do, but for the most part, I know what the times are just off the top of my head, or maybe they might be written here on my monthly, but I omit the times because there's not a lot of space in these columns. But up here, that's what I have, all of the timed things. And then right underneath that, in this highlighted section, that's where I like to write the theme for the day. So if the day is a content day, as in today where I'm filming a video for YouTube or a couple of videos for YouTube, that is what the theme of the day is going to be. And then right underneath that are tasks that I want to get done on that specific day. and then everything underneath between these two lines. And I'm actually liking this layout because it's giving me a reason to use the strip stickers from the Sterling Ink subscription kit. So anything between these two strip stickers is pretty much a free-for-all. I can use it for whatever I want. I have been using it for a weekly task list over on the left, and then the right, it just depends what comes up throughout the month. And I'll show you examples of how I've been using that over the weeks in March. But then at the bottom, I do still stick to having a section for my workouts and my dinners for each specific day. So I just narrowed that down to the bottom. And this top section is for the workouts, bottom section is for the dinners, and I have a slot or a space for every day of the week so I can fill that in as the week progresses. So I've really been liking this layout, and I decided to, after experimenting with all of those different layouts through February, I decided to come back to that one for March. And I have continued it into the first week of April. We're currently in the first week of April. I don't know if I'm going to keep going on with it. We will see. So then the second week of March, oh, and I will say, so over on the right-hand side in that notes section, I decided to write down a little list of things that I needed to bring with me when I was going for a library work day. So just any notes that are week specific. So I'm putting them here. Whereas under normal circumstances or when not using this layout, I would put them in my daily pages. So it doesn't really matter where I put them. They're notes that I'm taking anyway, but I like that I have the option to have them on this spread. So the second week in March, you can see is pretty much the same thing. I have some reminders to myself and a sticky note that I use for dinner ideas for the week. I don't like to write them here down at the bottom until we actually have them. So that's what those sticky notes are. I have them on a few of my weeks, but the layout is the same. The left-hand side, I have my task list for the week. And for this week on the right-hand side, I was going through a lot of my skincare products and reordering things that I needed. So that's what I made a list of here. So all the things that I was ordering or interested in that are new products, and also anything I was restocking for my regular products. And then the third week for March, as you can see over on the right hand side, I didn't have a lot of notes at all. I couldn't think of anything that I wanted to fit in there. And that sort of bothers me just a little bit. I just feel like it's wasted space if I don't use it for anything. I do have my little sticky note for the dinners for the week, but towards the end of the week, I thought that it might be a good idea to use this space over here for some kind of tracker for social media. I am a type of person who is not always on my phone, so it's kind of hard for me to remember to post things on Instagram. That may seem weird to people. It's hard for me to remember to even open Instagram. So I do, though, like, you know, the community that it inspires and all of that. So I try to remind myself to post there. Anything I've tried in the past just doesn't work. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll use sort of like a habit tracker and see if that works. Honestly, I'm at the point in my life where I'm not forcing it. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. So with that said, I did decide, well, what if I did like a tracker? Let's see how that'll work. So that was towards the end of this week. And this was just kind of like a sample of what I might do. So for the fourth week in March, I decided to make it a bit bigger so it fills in the space over on the right. And then I do have my sticky note for the dinners, and no surprise here. So I drew out the social media tracker and didn't use it. So whatever. so that's that. But that was an idea that I had to use for this, or an idea I had for some notes that I would put on this right-hand side of the weekly layout. Didn't quite work, and that's all right. So like I said, I'll give you a peek at the current week of April. Again, I don't have anything over here on the right. Would I fill it in? I don't know. We'll see. I don't like necessarily having too much structure on my weeklies. Like, I like the idea of being able to write whatever lists or whatever notes that I want to. So I want that flexibility to remain. I'm not into tracking a ton of things, and there aren't a lot of things that I even want to track on a weekly basis because I have a monthly tracker. So I'm still up in the air about what to use on the right hand side. I feel like something's gonna come of it. We'll see. Even if it's only just notes. Who knows? It could remain just notes, but I do want to feel like I'm actually using the space on the page. So speaking of the tracker, here is my tracker for March. I feel like I kind of fell off in my planner for March in general. Like I wasn't updating my tracker a lot. I didn't even put in my sleep. So this one looks a little undone on the bottom. And did I even track everything through to the end of the month? I'm not entirely sure. And honestly, I don't care enough to go back and see if I did or to go back and to fill in anything that I missed. And that is something that is also, it applies to the 1 line a day for March. So here is the dashboard that I set up for March. And if you saw that March setup video, this looked a little bit different on the left. I believe I wrote out the words in yellow, but then I hated it. So I whited it out and I came back and I wrote out the words in blue. So that's what that was. But I didn't even come and really fill in a lot more stuff on the dashboard. I don't have a reason why. I think it's just that March, I just wasn't super into my planner. I still use it for, you know, day-to-day tasks and to-do lists and all of that, but just the extraneous planner time I didn't necessarily have, and I just didn't make time for it throughout the month of March. Sometimes that happens, and it's okay all the time. It'll be okay all the time, every single time that it actually happens. But when I was kind of flipping through, I realized that I didn't even finish the last, 4 days of March for my 1 line a day. And then I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'll go back and fill it in. And then I was like, no, I won't. I'm just not going to do that. I don't care that much to come back and fill in those days. But that is me now. Sometimes I would care, you know, sometimes I would want to go back and fill it in. But this time I didn't. And that's just what it is. This is a good representation of March in my planner. March in my planner, I just wasn't that into it. And that's okay. So now getting into my dailies. Over here, I have a little bit of a place where I added some deco. And this can be seen in my video recently that I did about memory journaling within my daily planner. So this is an example of that, and I talked about it in that video, but I like to add in a few items or memorable things that happen throughout the days, like here as well, into my daily pages. So that's what I've been doing a lot since the start of the year, but I just gave some examples of how I've done that since the start of the year. And then my regular dailies with a little bit of micro journaling and notes. And over here, I did my week 10 review. So I knew that Sunday was ending on this half page and I didn't want a wasted half page. So I decided to do my weekly review using the bottom portion of the page. And I did the same 4 questions that I usually do, which is what worked, what didn't work, my favorite moment, and actually my 4th question is usually how can I make next week better? But I titled it next week's focus, and then I'll do a summary usually at the bottom of the week. So I didn't do the summary for this one, but for the other 4 questions, I did them in sort of a bulleted list, and that worked for me. So that was another way to kind of switch it up. And then we get into even more of my dailies, and we have some notes and journaling. Oh, and here was a little post-it note. There's nothing underneath it, but a little post-it note all about the skincare products that I was getting. So clearly, as I showed you back in that weekly, that's what the focus was for this week. So I had a list of the things that I wanted to get, or the actual steps in my routine. So I put that there because I wanted to see like where there were some empty spaces. And then here we have week 11 review, and then continue on with the task list for the dailies. And on this page, I actually remember I was in a meeting, and you know how your mind wanders while you're in a meeting. So I was writing down some ideas for Instagram Reels, and I have that here. I was also writing down whether or not I should color my hair, and then the reasons or whatever. Turns out, yes, I'm going to color my hair. That's what I decided during that meeting that was completely not related to coloring my hair. So just, you know, jotting down anything that comes to mind, doodling, writing down whatever. And then on the right-hand side, my little micro journaling portion for that day, I decided to do it sideways, not for any reason. I just turned the book and wrote it that way. Just to kind of switch it up. And throughout the month, you can see I've been adding stickers, the deco stickers from the Sterling Ink subscription kit. And that worked well. And then, oh, this day, I told myself I wanted to try to use a page per day for that last week of March. Worked out well for this day because I actually had a lot on my mind. I took a mental health day, as I call it. So I took a day off from actual work and from, I don't know, things that stress me out. So I did a little bit of micro journaling here. And then at the bottom of this page, I actually wrote out a little bit of a list of the things that I like to do on these mental health days. So I have here, fill the day with things you love, prioritize spending time with the people you love, defer all the superfluous tasks. So anything that doesn't have to get done today, just defer it to another day and just let your brain get a rest. Another thing, journal to get more grounded. I've said this in many of my journaling videos. I feel like journaling and writing down my thoughts onto a piece of paper helped me to process my thoughts a lot better. So especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed or I feel like I need a mental health day, that is a good time to get all of those thoughts out of my head, you know, stop swirling around in my head so I can process them a lot better. The next one was focus on doing what is needed to get over the hurdle. So recognizing what it is that's stressing me out and focusing on what I need to do to stop the stress. And then lastly, remember that no one/nothing dictates your time if you don't want it to. I feel like we're all adults here. You know, you can manage your days and your time the way you want to and don't fill it with people and things that you don't want to fill it with. And that's your right. So that's always a great reminder to decrease the stress in your life. So then Tuesday and Wednesday, clearly I was not really in my planner all that much. So I didn't have anything to fill each day with. But what I did do was put in this large spread covering my skincare routine for AM and PM. And it's really mostly to fill in the space, but also to note down the newer products and the regular products in my rotation, just to have a spot. And this is something that I might index. I know, well, if you didn't watch that video where I set this up, I do have a space for an index. Where is it? I do have a space for an index here in my planner. I don't always index everything though. So if I do come back and, you know, index everything, that is someplace where I will write down what page my skincare routine is on. So I'll either do it by, well, I can do it now by page number, but before when I didn't have page numbers, I would index based on the date. So I'll just say March 26th is where I write down my skincare routine, and that's how I would index it. So that's that. And then Thursday, I didn't have enough to fill in the whole page. Friday, we almost got there. And then at the end of Friday, I thought that I would come in and I had an idea for like another collection to put here or some deco or some stamps. And then I was over it. I was like, no, moving on. So I feel like that is just the overall theme of March in general. And then I was feeling a little spicy at the end of the month on the 30th and the 31st. And I came back and added a bit more journaling with some hand lettering. On Saturday during my long run, I twisted my ankle. And on Sunday, it was Easter. So I just kind of added in some deco related to that. And then had my week 13 review. And then, as I have for the end of every month, I have a 2-page spread to do my month in review, similar to this one that I did for February and this one that I did for January. So I do have my photos printed out. I just haven't sat down and stamped out the letters for March, but I will be doing that very soon. And I will likely show that to you in a future video. So those are all of my pages for the month of March, and that's how my planner filled up in March. And like I said, I just feel like the theme for the entire month was whatever. Like I'll journal, I'll use my planner when and how I want to, and if I don't want to use my planner, I'm not using it. So that was the theme for March, not to make a big deal over space or, parts of the pages that aren't filled in, or not to make a big deal feeling that some pages are wasted. I feel like that is a waste of energy, actually, to even concern ourselves with that. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're just not into planning or journaling or adding pretty deco and stickers, and it's okay to just move on. So that was March. On the upside of that, I'm feeling a lot better about my planner in April. And as you can see, the cover looks a little bit different. We'll talk about that. And I think I might do a reel showing it. I don't know. It doesn't need to be a full video, but switching things up for Q2 of the year. So I'm excited about changing that up and giving a new look to my planner. So there you have it. That is my whole entire month of March in a nutshell, as reflected in my daily planner. I'll have any of the videos that I mentioned linked down below in the description box. And if you have any questions, certainly feel free to leave them down in the comments and I'll get right back to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.